Hello and welcome to Insights from Autistic. I'm Arman Khodaei, and today's video is solutions for bullying. Not just bullying in the school environment, but bullying between adults, cyberbullying, work situation bullying such as harassment, sexual harassment, etc. We'll be covering all of that today. So, with that said, solutions for bullying. Okay, first let's look at school. Since many of you might have children that go to school, or you're in school, you're in middle school, you're in high school, even in college bullying happens, though not as often, or the bullying kind of is different. So in elementary school, the type of bullying is usually more physical, at least between males. There'll usually be someone that doesn't have very many friends, which is usually somebody on the autism spectrum, because we don't usually have very many friends. And usually the bully targets said individual who doesn't have very many friends, because they're not going to tell anybody. Maybe they might even think, in my case anyway, I've said, well, this guy's giving me attention. No, attention is better than no attention, right? So that happens. Sometimes the kid won't even talk about the bullying. No, I didn't really talk about the bullying until the 6th grade. I was being bullied for 3 years. And so a child, with autism, might not communicate the bullying, or they might not even be verbal, and they might be being bullied. So there's all sorts of things to take into account. So what to do? First things first, sometimes you have to just tell the teacher. And teachers, you really have a responsibility to keep an eye out on things. To take things a little bit more seriously. And it could be very difficult to talk to a teacher about this. I didn't feel comfortable talking to a teacher about bullying. It wasn't easy for me back then. Another solution is to go to an area where there's a lot of kids. Don't necessarily play with the kids if you don't want to. I mean, if you're like but if there's a lot of people, or not necessarily kids, but a lot of people, because maybe you're a teenager now, you're an adult now, whatever. Go to an area where there's a lot of people. Of course, that can cause a lot of social anxiety, so it's not necessarily the best advice, but the bully is less likely to target you in an area where there's a lot of people. Another thing, if you witness the bullying, it's good to approach the bully in a large group, and make him aware that what he's doing is not right. Don't just approach him one-on-one, because then you can become a victim of the bullying later on. If your friends encourage bullying, do not join. Instead, go to the office and tell them. I heard of an incident, where several kids, sexually assaulted a kid, and the whole group gets in on it. Sometimes, some bullying, sometimes it's a whole group of people that do the bullying. Because, one person, the leader starts it, and they say, oh, this is my leader, I'm going to follow him, and they don't think about how their actions are hurting somebody else. And bullying can have very severe repercussions on people. It could lead to suicide, or it could lead to a lifetime of issues. What are some forms of bullying? There's the physical bullying. There's sexual harassment, where you either make sexual innuendos, passes at people, you say things that are sexually over their head, which happened to me. Anything sexual related, even if you're joking about it, can be sexual harassment. Especially if you're joking about it to a particular individual, that does become sexual harassment. And then there's sexual assault, which is hopefully explanatory, and that kind of at times could borderline on rape at times, and so that is totally unacceptable. There's also there's harassment. And harassment is a very subtle thing, and that's one of the biggest problem areas of bullying, I think, is just regular harassment. I was actually harassed at a presentation I gave, and it wasn't until afterwards that I realized I was being harassed. I didn't feel right. I was actually talking. The guy was. Now this is very interesting. So he was talking to me about how in my presentation I talked about how eye contact made me feel uncomfortable. And then, so he says though, so somebody says, well, you not making eye contact with, people not making eye contact with me makes me feel uncomfortable, so therefore you should do eye contact. So what he did after the presentation is, he went up to me like, like look me in the eye sort of thing, like this. Which to me, he was doing this to like try to, he was like, you should make eye contact with me, was essentially his attitude, you should, because it doesn't make me feel good when you don't do eye contact, was essentially his output. And the way that he was doing that though, especially because I explained that it was difficult for me to make eye contact, the way that he was doing it was definitely harassment, because if somebody knows something is difficult for you and they do something to make you feel uncomfortable, that is harassment. And this was actually at a presentation, an autism presentation nonetheless, that I told him about this. So that person was definitely harassing me. Unfortunately, I didn't realize until afterwards, and he justified his actions by the fact that he didn't feel comfortable people didn't make eye contact. But I gave a 5-10 minute explanation as to the whole eye contact thing, as to why it was hard, how it caused anxiety to make eye contact, how it felt like people were looking into my soul if I made eye contact, etc., etc., etc. So harassment can be very subtle. But if somebody does something that makes you feel uncomfortable, especially if they know it makes you feel uncomfortable, then they're probably harassing you. And then what to do in that case. I guess you have to tell somebody. You have to tell somebody that's going to listen to you and who's going to stand up to you. I don't know. A lot of people kind of ignore subtle harassment, unfortunately. Or the subtle harassers, they try to justify their actions like that guy was doing, and they try to make themselves look like they're right, which they're not. So it's difficult. The more subtle the harassment, and sometimes it's the more subtle bullying that leads to the bigger problems. If somebody calls you names, they say you're a retard, you're stupid, or they put you down for something like you gave an incredible presentation in class, and then some student says, oh my God, you suck so much. And you put in hours and hours, and you had a fabulous presentation. Your presentation was better than all the students, because it looked amazing. Everything you did about it was amazing. Some people get jealous because somebody's better than you, and then they start putting you down, and that's bullying too. That's a verbal bullying. Verbal bullying is the worst type of bullying there is. Physical actually is not as much, because the pain goes away. But those scars, they can stay with you for life. They can destroy a person. As somebody who did this incredible presentation, or who put out an incredible piece of music, they might give up on that career. They might give up on their dreams. They might fall apart as a result of some idiot saying, some very derogatory things to somebody. And if you see somebody putting somebody down, you got to say, don't do that. You got to lift that person up. But sometimes the damage is already done. So when somebody's verbal bullying, you have to be mentally strong and say to yourself, this guy's an idiot, to yourself. You just got to keep it to yourself, because if you say it out loud, you're going to get into an argument with the dude, and you're only going to cause more problems. The person's going to hate you more because they already hated you to begin with. And people, they want attention. That person, why they might be putting you down for, like, say you did that incredible project, they might be putting you down because you're getting all the attention, and they're not. People, here's the thing about bullies, or all people in general. People get energy when you give them attention. When you give bullies attention, you make them stronger. The thing is to try to, if possible, ignore the bully. If that doesn't work, you got to go to higher up authority, but the best thing is to not give them attention. Sometimes the bullies want to get in trouble because they're getting attention when they get in trouble. It's like kids who argue with their parents, the argument, blah, 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 this friction. Why a lot of kids constantly argue with their parents? Because their parents are giving their kid attention. Otherwise, the kid might not get attention. Same thing with bullies. They want attention. When you feed the bullies, now this is in person, online, whatever, you're making them stronger. So say online a bully says some really derogatory, something very demeaning, disgusting thing online. Best thing, report it, flag it, ignore it. Don't respond. You respond, you're giving the bully more power, you're making them feel more justified. They're feeling like, oh, this feels good. Some people love drama. I was talking about letting go of negative people in my video yesterday. Same thing. Some people just love the drama, and they're like, it feels so good to have that drama. So like, oh yes, please fight back with me is what these bullies are saying. They're like, oh yes, I'm look at all these nasty comments I'm writing on. Oh, look at all these people I love this so much. Really, that's how some bullies are like. You fight back with them online, they're only more excited. They love it. It's like you're giving them money or something. You're doing them a favor when you do that. So report them. If they keep on bullying you, maybe they get your information somehow, they send you threats, whatever, you go to the police. You go to the FBI. There's solutions for that. You can Google up FBI reporting for bullies, things like that. There are solutions. You can get a restraining order against somebody. But overall, do not feed the bullies. You're giving them food when you respond to them. So yeah, there's that. And then there's bullying where it's behind your back. This happens with a lot of gossip, like especially with women. And then everybody believes things are not true about them. This happens, I heard, a lot in middle school and high school, and this can really damage somebody. It could damage their reputation, even if the thing is completely made up and a lie. It could, and then they come back and hear it, and it just destroys people. So when we make lies about people, when we say demeaning things about people, we destroy them. The thing is to not spread those lies. It's not to not talk about people we don't know. If we don't know about it, don't talk about it. And don't give power to the bullies. And that's the same on the internet. Like I said, just ignore that crap. If you see it happen to somebody else, flag it and report it. Instead of getting into the debate and joining in on the discussion, just flag that crap. Don't let it go on. So that's what I have to say. And I thank you for watching today's video. I wish everybody an awesome day of awesomeness. Thank you.